Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to see current affairs of 24th May 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 8 topics that are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first topic. Title says very severe cyclone Yas to hit North Odisha coast. So regarding this topic, we also discussed in our yesterday's PIB analysis and also yesterday's Hindi analysis. So we are not going to discuss basic facts regarding this, what is a cyclone and everything. So we are going to see what is written in this article. So this topic will be important regarding GS paper 2 under disaster management and also GS paper 1 under geography. And this topic will be important from geography point of view, from prelims and also mains. And from disaster it will be important from only mains point of view. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that the depression over East Central Bay of Bengal is very likely to move in north-northwest direction. So as you know that here we have Andaman and Nicobar Islands. In this North Andaman Sea, here depression started and now it is mainly going to move towards north and as well as northwest direction, and it will hit the coast of Odisha here. Okay, so this depression, which is mainly going to intensify a cyclonic storm. So if you see some details which are given in this article, it mainly says that the system Yas is expected to cross the coast in North Odisha and West Bengal region, that is between Paradip and Sagar Islands. So it is going to be a very severe cyclonic storm. So officials at Regional Meteorological Center in Kolkata, they issued warnings that regarding squally winds of 40 to 50 kmph that are going to be increased to 60 kmph, that is kilometers per hour, and they are mainly prevail over North Bay of Bengal region, and they will hit off coast of Odisha and West Bengal, even Bangladesh. And gradually the wind speed will be increased to 90 to 100 kmph, and it can also reach 155 to 165 kmph, and they are going to take landfall on 26th May. On 26th May here the wind speed will reach 185 kilometers per hour. So these are some important details which are given in this article. And now let us see about this disaster management cycle. So here whenever disaster which has happened, so before this disaster we need to take some steps like mitigation and prevention, and we need to prepare for disaster, and as well as we need to go for prediction as well as early warning. So once disaster had taken place, we need to take some steps like impact assessment, we need to provide some rehabilitation, response, recovery and reconstruction. So these are some steps under disaster management cycle. So you need to know each and everything in a very great detail. And now let us see next topic. Title says India to push for WHO and European Union approval for Covaxin. So in India we are having two vaccine candidates. First one is Covishield and second one is Covaxin. For this Covishield, it got WHO and European Union approval, but for Covaxin we don't have this. Okay, so because of this, now in Government of India mainly to push for approval of this Covaxin for WHO and European Union. So this article will be important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. Now let us try to talk about this article in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that Covaxin faced with a concern that Indians who are receiving this Covaxin may not get relaxation in travel restrictions. So because of this, now Government of India decided to ensure to receive clearances from WHO and European Union, that is European Medical Agency. Okay, so this is context. And now let us see some details. So here Ministry of External Affairs tasked with studying the matter regarding need for recognition for Indian made vaccine. Okay, need for recognition for this Covaxin. And next one is, it is also having desire to push more export orders in future. So whenever our Covaxin got this WHO and European Union approval, then we can go for increased exports also. So if you see why this decision taken by government, so what is the background regarding this? If you see why this decision taken, because recently European Union approved a proposal to allow fully vaccinated tourists from countries outside Europe under criteria. That means whenever any people or any person who is taking this COVID-19 vaccine, then he will be given some criteria here, and he can be allowed for this European Union. So but if you see here regarding this Indian vaccine candidates, Covishield, which included into WHO and as well as European Union listing, but Covaxin not accepted. This is one cause of concern now. Okay, so this because of this now Government of India mainly pushed to approval for this Covaxin under WHO and as well WHO and as well as European Union. So this is just. And now let us say next topic. Title says children acquired new skills during pandemic, says survey. So this article mainly talking about whatever the skill are acquired by children in this lockdown period. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, almost all schools have been shut down from last 1.5 years. So because of this here, children they are mainly going for online teaching, and some children they are mainly going for acquiring of new skills. So this article will be important regarding GS paper to education and as well as GS paper to under society. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So this article mainly talking about children and new skills. So if you see context, it mainly says that government and organizations, they conducted multiple surveys. So in this surveys, they tried to access the quantity and as well as to quantify learning losses that our students mainly facing because of this coronavirus. And if you see some details, recently Karnataka government also conducted a similar survey. So in this survey, they mainly focused on what students did and their spare time, and found that a majority in this survey. And if you see here in that survey, they mainly focused on whatever the skills they developed in this period. So study mainly says that Department of Public Instruction surveyed about 3,672 children from class, that is class 2nd to class 10th, and they found that they learned many new skills regarding singing, dancing, artwork, swimming and as well as gardening. And some mainly took courses in knitting, cooking and as well as engaging with reading and writing for leisure. And many children in rural areas especially, they enjoyed outdoor activities. And as for information which is collected under 8 categories, the children mainly went for playing and as well as new skills are learned, and also learned some skills in art, use of electronic media, household chores and as well as nature related activities, and they went for some formal learning and as well as economic activities. So these are 8 categories in which children they gain new skills. And next one is children they were missing out social interaction in classroom. And some children they mainly express their joy that they could spend more time with their family in this period. Okay, so this is just of this topic. And now let us say next topic. Title says single dose only 33% effective against this B1617. Okay, so this B1617, it is Indian double mutant virus, right? So this article mainly talking about effectiveness of Covishield. So this topic will be very much important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So before this, we need to know that Covishield, if you are talking about effectiveness, it is mainly said that 59% which is effective whenever people who are taking 2 doses of this vaccination. Right, so this is the data which is according to our clinical trials. So in clinical trials, we went for phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials, and this phase 3 clinical trials mainly said that this Covishield vaccine is very much effective, and effectiveness which is recorded is 59%. And this article mainly talking about effectiveness of this Covishield against this double mutant virus, that is B1617 strain of this COVID-19. So now let us try to talk about this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that a single dose of AstraZeneca vaccine, that is Covishield in UK, so it was only 33% effective in protecting against symptomatic COVID-19. Now here new data which is regarding this Covishield is, it is just 33% effective whenever we are taking single dose of this vaccine against symptomatic COVID-19. So in this symptomatic COVID-19, so this vaccine which is only effective to 33%. And it is this study mainly regarding this Indian double mutant virus variant. So earlier we identified that in India it is 59% effective whenever we are taking these 2 doses of this vaccine. And this study mainly says that by taking this single dose of this vaccine, it is just 33% effective regarding this Indian variant of this COVID-19. So if you see some details here, it mainly says that findings are very much significant. India is heavily reliant on Covishield vaccine, okay, and we went for 90% of vaccination regarding this Covishield and remaining 10% with this Covaxin. So most of the people who got this Covishield vaccine, if at all this effectiveness is less, then it will be useless. And next one is India reports dominant variant of this Covishield coronavirus, that is B.1.617 variant in India. And regarding this variant, it is just 33% effective. And next one is, if you see this variant, it is having some multiple mutations that is seen in spike protein. So in this context, it mainly talks about some guidelines. We need to follow continue masking even in indoors and also outdoors, and we need to maintain some physical distancing mainly to prevent this transmission of this virus. So this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us say next topic. Congo volcano spares Goma city, 5 die in crash while trying to leave. So if you see this image, you can see here volcano that mainly bursted, and that led to outpour of lava from these volcanoes. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under geography, and as well as you need to see map of this area where it is located, that is Goma city in Congo. So regarding geography, you need to know about some important concepts regarding this volcano. So how many types of volcanoes are present and what is difference between magma and lava? So let me know in comment box like how many types of volcanoes are present and what is difference between lava and magma. Okay. So it is your homework and please let me know in comment box. So this article will be very much important regarding geography, which comes under GS paper 1. And this topic will be very much important, especially regarding prelims point of view. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. Before that, let us see where is this Congo volcano that mainly located. Here Nyamigurajira volcano is present, and here next one is Nyiragongo, okay, Nyiragongo volcano. So now here there are 2 major volcanoes, they are located in this Congo. Now it is a mainly outburst of this volcano, that is Mount Nyiragongo. Okay, so this Mount Nyiragongo volcano mainly outbursted here. Okay, so here you need to also remember which are the countries that are bordering with this Congo. Here we have Sudan, here we have Central African Republic, here we have Republic of Congo, here we have Angola, here we have Zambia, and here we have Tanzania. So these are countries which are mainly sharing boundary with Congo, and here we have this Goma city. Okay, so this is location of this Goma city. So this is about map, and now let's come back and let us see context. So if you see context, it mainly says that Congo's Mount Nyiragongo unleashed lava that destroyed homes on outskirts of this Goma city. So if you see details here, so more than 500 homes they had been destroyed with this event, and this type of event that also happened earlier in 2002. So in that 2002, that led to vast devastation in this area. So because of this, now people, they were very much panic, and they are mainly trying to leave this area. So in this event, there were about 5 people, they died in this event. So this is just of this topic. And now let us see next article. Title says the many benefits of eco-tax. So this also called as ecological taxation or environmental taxation. So this topic will be very much important regarding economy and as well as environment point of view. So now let us try to understand this topic in a very great detail. So this article mainly talked about what is this eco-tax. So what is need of this eco-tax and what are benefits of this eco-tax and what are important components of this eco-tax. So this will be important regarding GS paper 3 under environment and ecology and as well as economy. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So eco-tax is also called as ecological tax. So on which it is levied. So this ecological tax mainly levied on activities which are considered to be very harmful to our environment. Okay, whenever we are imposing this eco tax, then we can reduce this type of activities and in turn we can promote environmentally friendly activities, that is mainly via economic incentives. Okay, so here ecological tax mainly levied on activities which are very much harmful, okay, to our environment, such that we are mainly promoting some environment friendly activities. So now let us try to talk about this background of this eco tax. So if you're talking about background, first we need to know why we need to impose this eco tax now. So why it is the right time to impose this eco tax now. So if you're talking about data which is given by World Health Organization, it mainly says that household expenditure on health which is more than 10% and 25% of total household expenditure in India in 2011, that is mainly made on health. Okay, so health expenditure it is more than 10% and as per 2011 data it mainly says that 25% of total household expenditure that is mainly spent on health and 17.33% of population in India, they made out of pocket expenditure payments on health. So if you're talking about globally across the globe, 12.67% of people, they spent more than 10% of their income on health. And next one is especially in Southeast Asia, 16% of people, they spent more than 10% of their household income on health. And if you're talking about especially population of India, 3.9% of population of India, they spent more than 25% of out-of-pocket expenditure payments on health. And even our economic survey 2019-20, it mainly said that they are going to increase public spending from 1% to 2.5 to 3% of GDP here. And this economic survey also envisaged about this national health policy of 2017. So in this national health policy of 2017, which mainly focused on how to decrease this out-pocket expenditure, that means whenever we are increasing public spending, that will decrease this out-pocket expenditure from 60% to 30%. So because of all these data, we can see there is underfunding of this public health infrastructure that is seen. And as well as there is lack of infrastructure, everything we are facing some problems now. So because of this, we need to impose some tax such that we can go for health financing in India. So here the option we have here is we can impose this eco tax. So India, it is currently focusing on majority on the command and control approach, mainly in tackling this pollution in this area. And if you are talking about success of this eco tax, it will mainly depend on three important things. First one is how we are making this plan or what is architecture about this eco tax. Second one is how well we are going for implementation of this. And next one is whether it is credible, transparent and predictable or not. So based on these three things, this success of this eco tax will be dependent. And next one is this eco tax will also requires an evaluation of damage to environment, which is mainly based on some scientific assessment. So based on this scientific assessment, we need to go for evaluation of damage to our environment. Okay, and we need to also assess adverse impact of this environment damage on health, people and as well as even climate change. So here this environment tax mainly involves three complementary activities. So first one is we need to eliminate existing subsidies and as well as taxes which have harmful impact on our environment. So for example, if you are doing mining or anything, so if you are getting any subsidies or any taxes, here they need to be eliminated. And next one is we need to restructure existing taxes in an environmentally very much supportive manner. And next one is we need to initiate new environment taxes. So these are three complementary activities that need to be taken under this environment tax. And if you're talking about especially in India, eco taxes, they target three areas. First one is we are having some differential taxation on vehicles in transport sector. So for example, if you are going for using electric vehicles, we will be getting some benefits, incentives from government. So if you are using other bad fuels, then we will be having some impacts and tax will be imposed on that. So based on fuel efficiency, there will be some differential taxation. For example, if I am using a vehicle which is mainly run through electricity, that is electric vehicle, so here government will not impose any tax on me and it will give in turn incentives for me to buy this electrical vehicles. Whenever we are going for buying of a diesel vehicle or petrol vehicle, then government will impose tax on that. Okay. And based on this GPS based congestion changes, so whenever we are using some technologies and whenever we are making fuel efficiency vehicles and whenever we are going for GPS based congestion changes, so on this there will be differential taxation. And next one is energy sector by taxing fuels which feed into energy generation. For example, if you are converting this waste in urban areas and the rural areas into this energy, then we will be having some benefits here. So on this energy sector also we are going to tax fuels. For example, if you are going for generating of fuels mainly from we can say like carbon or some hydrocarbons, or when we are going for coal etc., then we are going for imposition of taxes. And next one is waste generation and use of natural resources. So based on these three things, here eco taxes are mainly targeting here. So if you're talking about benefits, so it will be helpful for getting some income for government such that it can increase spending in public health infrastructure, and environment also helps mainly to decrease pollution. Environment wise also it will be very important, and it will be also helpful for financing of research and development projects in India, and finally it will be also helpful for reduction in poverty. So these are some important things that should remember regarding this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us say next article. Title says recalibrate growth, reprioritize expenditure. So here this article mainly talking about whatever growth estimates we done. So now because of this COVID-19, so we went for again lockdowns, right? So because of this it is mainly disrupting our economic activities. So because of this further we can see decrease in our economic activity. We can also see there will be decrease in our GDP. Okay, so this is something. So because of this we need to again recalibrate our growth and we need to reprioritize our expenditure. We need to prioritize mass vaccinations mainly to come back to our earlier economic activities. So this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So this article mainly talking about budget and mass vaccination. So if you see context, now we are in second wave of this coronavirus, and in this second wave we went for successive lockdowns and it mainly eroding some economic activities in our country. So here in this successive lockdowns, here whenever we are going for growth projections of different national and as well as international agency and even fiscal projections of center for year 2021 to 2022, so we need to go for recalibration. We need to rediscuss or we need to recover with this. Okay, we need to come again with this growth predictions now. So if you're talking about growth predictions, IMF said that this year 2021 to 2021 GDP of India will be 12.5%, and RBI came up with its estimate. It said that 10.5%, and Ministry of Finance in its economic survey it said that it should be 11%. So even Moody's, that is credit rating agency, also came up with the recent prediction. It mainly said that the growth will be 9.3% for financial year 2021 to 2022. but these are predictions mainly based on assumptions here. Okay, so these assumptions that economy normalizes in second half of fiscal year and lockdowns they have come to end. So there is assumption that economic activities they come back, and as well as lockdowns also came to end. But here now again, because of surge of this cases in the second wave of this coronavirus, now we went for lockdowns again here. So if you are talking about budget magnitudes here, so central gains tax revenues will be increased. So in budget magnitudes, Government of India mainly said that it is going to get more central gross tax revenues, and there will be non-tax and as well as non-debt capital receipts will be increased. But in practical, there is shortfall of about 1.5 lakh crore in non-tax revenues and as well as non-debt capital receipts. So here central gross tax revenues also decreased here. So in this way, what is need? What can be done? What can be done to recover our economy? So first one is we need to focus on healthcare infrastructure. So here now, because of this COVID-19, we are mainly focusing on healthcare infrastructure in India, and now this health infrastructure in India, which is a very under capacity. So because of this urgent need that can be done now is we need to revamp up health and as well as related infrastructure, and we need to enhance the number of hospitals, beds, oxygen supplies, and manufacturing of this COVID-19 vaccinations and COVID-19 related drugs now. And if you're talking about this migrant laborers and as well as rural and urban unemployed people, so government need to give some support. We need to extend MG Narega scheme. We need to come up with this Work Employment Guarantee Act in lines of rural areas in urban areas also. Because whenever there is no money in the hands of people, they cannot go to market and demand for goods and services. Mainly for make our economic recover, we need to increase our spending from government side. And next one is we need to go for speedy and larger vaccination coverage, especially for this vulnerable people. So in this way, we can revive our economy here at least to some extent. So this is gist of this topic. I hope it is clear. And now let us see next article. So before seeing this, I want to make a small announcement on this platform. If you want to clear UPSC 2022, we came up with one excellent, highly beneficial and also highly economical course, that is current affairs package along with the mains answer writing practice. So how this course will be useful to clear this UPSC 2022? So one thing you need to remember before entering into examination hall is you need to know at least 1.5 years current affairs for sure. And this is right time to join this course to cover this 1.5 years current affairs in a comprehensive manner. So why we need to focus on this current affairs? So if you're talking about prelims and mains or an even interview, you can get questions from this current affairs. So your mastering of current affairs is very important to clear UPSC. And if you're talking about this mains answer writing practice, many students who are especially freshers, who are beginners, they ignore this mains answer writing practice. Even though with their hard work, if they clear this UPSC prelims, they cannot clear mains for sure. So to clear mains, you need to have essential answer writing skills. In this course, we are mainly focusing on how to improve your answer writing skills. And next one is we are going to conduct prelims test on every Sunday, and we also provide you video explanation part. So in this way, this course which is designed as per demand of UPSC. Finally, I want to say one thing. Please don't take this course as a choice. Try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve a dream of clearing UPSC. And for further details of this course, link which is given in description box. So please visit that once. And if you want to talk to me personally regarding this course, you can talk to me on this number 8074765513. Now let's come back and let us see next article. Title says deflating India's COVID black market bloom. So this article mainly talking about black market. So why there is black market now? So now we are in second wave of this coronavirus. So if you're talking about our healthcare infrastructure, it is not efficient. So we are seeing under capacity. So there is lack of oxygen supplies. There is lack of drugs like remdesivir. And as well as there is a lack of a proper essentials which are present, right, in India. So because of this, government which came up with number of helplines regarding whether they will, for example, those helplines will provide some information regarding where this plasma will be available, or when in which hospitals there is oxygen beds are available, okay, and in which center there will be providing of some essential drugs and as well as essential medicine which are required to treat this COVID-19. But regarding this helplines, we are having one concern like whether it is illegal or illegal, okay. So because of increase in demand now for medicines, oxygen and as well as beds in hospitals, so that led to black marketing in India. So now let us try to see some cases of black marketing and what can be done by government to control this black marketing. So now let us try to see this article in a very great detail. So this article will be important regarding governance which comes under GS paper 2, and this topic will be important regarding mains point of view. So context mainly says that now we are in second wave of this global pandemic. So in this second wave, to fight against this global pandemic, we mainly need some necessary integral medicines, hospital beds and proper oxygen supplies. So because of this, there is number of increase in cases, so there is increase in demand for this oxygen supplies, hospital beds and as well as some critical medicines like remdesivir, etc. So mainly to address this problem here, so there are many helplines. So these helplines mainly provide some hope for delivery system, but there is no demarcation regarding it is a legal or official or not. So if you are talking about flourishing market now, so regarding this remdesivir and tocilizumab here, so there is increased demand for this drugs especially since set of pandemic now. So because of this increase in demand here, now that led to black marketing, and because of this black marketing, many groups are getting much profits from this black marketing. For example, in Surat and Ahmedabad, recently Gujarat Flood and Drug Control Administration they unearthed one black marketing, and in Ahmedabad remdesivir mainly it came up with a mixture of glucose and salt with a fake brand name. And next one is even in Mumbai there is drug black market that is evident, and UP and Kanpur a racket of market oxygen cylinders are mainly found, and Haryana police reported 21 FIRs in connection with the black marketing of many of these medical essentials to treat this coronavirus. So if you see what is reason here is proper administration, it is not working there. So if there is any administration which is working regarding this, so there is already overwhelmed, they are already overburdened. So this helpline numbers they are inundated with calls, and as well as it is difficult to connect to these helpline numbers. And there is also adequacy of resources, probably not receiving a closure communication from helplines. And next one is there is redundant and long communication process, how a delay in rendering responses, okay. They will link that they are mainly leading to delay in rendering responses, especially these helplines. So because of this, now we can see there is black marketing. So what can be done? What is need? Need here is we need to go for expansion of administrative mechanisms regarding qualitative and as well as quantitative manner, and we need to take some organization groups into considerations, and these volunteer organizations they need to provide some training, and as well as they need to optimize and deploy them, and we need to use technology such that we can reduce burden on data entry operators and as well as management information systems, and we need to go for expert planning model regarding this how to prevent this black marketing in market. And here we need some strong decentralized independent vigilance system that will help to promote transparency, and as well as it will ensure quality in performance of administrative setup. So these are some important things that you should remember here. So this is just of this topic. I hope it is clear. By this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to enroll this current affairs package. Thank you so much.